It's extremely rare that I make videos talking about mods for Dwarf Fortress, because quite frankly it's very rare that things actually catch my eye. But that doesn't change the fact that the Dwarf Fortress community is as active as ever in the modding scene, continuing to make various visual tweaks, custom creatures, new crafting objects, as well as piles of plugins for DFHack. But the other day, something popped up that really caught my eye, and honestly I think it's best that I just simply show you. Most of you are probably aware of DFHack, which is a third-party piece of software that's available through Steam or its own GitHub repo, that actively modifies Dwarf Fortress while it's running. When I'm using DFHack, I leave most of its features disabled. However, I do know that many of you find them quite helpful, and regularly utilize them during gameplay. But everything that comes with DFHack is just what's default. There are third-party plugins as well, and that's exactly what this is, a third-party plugin. It's called Smooth Movement. I'm going to enable it now to show you exactly what it does. Now before you get too excited, this plugin is not ready for public consumption. This is very much a proof of concept. In fact, it breaks the game visually in a myriad of ways that I will show later in the video. But right now, the question is, what exactly is this doing? So to find out, I reached out to the creator of the plugin, where they did swiftly get back to me. Essentially, it puts a line in the middle of the screen rendering layer, so it detects which units are moving and where they're going to be moving to. And while it predicts this, it inserts extra frames, essentially drawing a middle stage before drawing the final frame. This allows Dwarf Fortress to show a scene that makes it feel like sprites are moving from tile to tile. But there are some limitations in this current implementation. The first and most obvious issue is when you move the screen around. All objects like rocks and items left on the ground move with the camera. So the only time you are left with a smooth, unseparated sequence of movements is when the camera is stationary. While following units, the illusion also breaks, but you'll still get a bit of the illusion on sprites that are not the one that you're following. The same goes for when you're controlling a character in an adventure mode style. But when you're watching large groups of units moving from place to place, or watching combat of any sort, it is quite mesmerizing to witness, although still very janky. It's a bit nauseating when you're moving the screen around and seeing all of the boulders doing a little breakdance. It is, however, worth noting that this only happens when the game is paused. So if the game is unpaused, you won't get that jumpy boulder effect. Another issue that I noticed almost immediately when messing around with this is units on lower Z levels are not affected by the movement, so they're still doing the classic skipping from tile to tile. There's also a feature that allows the camera to move smoothly as well, but causes its own series of issues. If you're controlling a character for adventure mode, as I am doing here in Arena, just like when you're using the follow camera, the smooth movement only visually applies to other characters around you. But it does add some nice flair, and actually I think is almost a bigger improvement than for Fortress mode. Because unless you're manually grabbing and moving the camera, you're not going to have the problem with static objects jumping around the screen, and it allows the characters to flow into combat quite nicely. At the end of the day, I'm actually kind of mixed on how I feel about this plugin. DFHack plugins in general are only going to be a minority of Dwarf Fortress users to begin with. And even though I've already seen talk about people trying to integrate this plugin into DFHack officially, it's only a fraction of the user base that will ever see it running, which is partially why I'm making this video. This is a visual representation of what smooth movement in Dwarf Fortress could look like. And this is something that people have been mentioning, bringing up, and asking about, and asking for in my comments section in varying capacities, as long as I've been making videos about Dwarf Fortress. Is this something important to you? Would you use it? Is this something that you consider a barrier to entry for the game? I'm genuinely curious. Sometimes I feel like I have an overinflated sense of what bothers people about this game. Having access to my YouTube comment sections, I see everything that upsets people about Dwarf Fortress, what they find intimidating, and what they find accessible. And frankly, I have a pretty detailed list of things that I see complained about the most. And one of the most common barriers to entry that I do see for a lot of people is the lack of smooth movement. People often cite RimWorld as games that they find to be more approachable due to the fact that they find it easier to understand what's going on during active combat situations, as well as extremely busy scenes with large numbers of units on screen. Could you see yourself using this as a daily driver as part of DFHack, or would you want this implemented into the game properly? Let me know down in the comments section. But for right now, I'm just going to show you how to install this, because it's pretty straightforward. First and foremost, you're going to need to install DFHack. And the easiest way to do that is by simply going to the Steam page and downloading it. Now, I do personally recommend you disable the overlay when you use DFHack for the more vanilla experience, but at the end of the day, use it as much or as little as you like. What you're going to do from there is you're going to right-click on DFHack on Steam and go to Properties. Then you're going to click on Local Files. Now keep in mind, I am using a Linux system, so your file structure might look slightly differently. From there, you're going to open the link to the most recent release for the Smooth Movement plugin on GitHub. And from there, you're going to extract the compressed file into the DFHack file directory. Once completed, you should be able to launch Dwarf Fortress, type in load smooth movement, and then enable smooth movement, and your dwarves should glide from tile to tile. Keep in mind, if you run into errors, you might be using a different version than I am here. So just make sure that you are using a version that works with DFHack and the current version of Dwarf Fortress when you install it. Test this out, let me know what you think. Let's see if this is something that's at the very least worth implementing into DFHack proper. And if this is something that enough players adopt, perhaps it could make its way into the game in the far future. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.